All right, we're about to dive into something that sounds like it's straight out of a sci-fi movie. I'm talking about the incredible reality of reconstructive surgery. Imagine you lose a finger, right? But then it's rebuilt using a piece of your very own toe. I know, it sounds wild, but it's really happening, and we're going to break down exactly how.
Just for a second, picture it. A totally unexpected, traumatic accident. Maybe a slip with a power tool in the workshop. You look down, and a part of your finger, it's just gone. What do? I mean, how could you possibly get that back?
And this is where it gets amazing. The answer, as strange as it sounds, might be on your foot. For these incredible surgeons, the perfect, living, breathing replacement part, we're talking nail, bone, skin, the whole deal, is sitting right there at the end of your leg. So let's get into why this wild idea is actually so important.
Okay, first things first, let's really understand why this is such a big deal. Losing the tip of your finger isn't just some minor injury. It's like losing a super sophisticated, highly specialized tool you use every single day. You know, a fingernail is so much more than just a cosmetic thing. It gives you that rigid backup you need for pinch strength, to pick up a tiny screw or a pin. It's also absolutely essential for your sense of touch. And let's be honest, it has a huge impact on your confidence and how you feel about your hands. And look, these injuries are devastatingly real. The research we're digging into today is all about patients who went through some serious trauma. We're talking about accidents with things like power saws, industrial grinders, or conveyor belts. These are incidents that don't just damage a fingertip, they completely wipe it out. So, when you're faced with that kind of total loss, surgeons have to get really creative. And their solution? Well, it's nothing short of medical brilliance. It's a true marvel of modern surgery.
So here's the core idea. It's called a partial toe transfer. Basically, it's a super delicate microsurgery where a surgeon carefully takes a custom-shaped piece from a patient's toe, a lot of times it's the big toe, and then transplants it onto the injured finger. They're not just moving skin here, they're moving an entire, tiny, functional unit.
And what's really cool is this isn't some one-size-fits-all procedure. Nope. The surgeons tailor it to the exact injury. For something as important as a thumb, they might use what's called a wraparound flap from the big toe. But for a smaller finger, like a pinky, they might transplant an entire fourth toe, just because it's a way better size match. It's an unbelievably precise calculation.
So how on earth do they pull this off? Let's peel back the curtain and take a look inside this incredibly intricate surgical ballet. I love this analogy. Think of it like this. Surgeons are working under a super powerful microscope, and they're basically reconnecting plumbing and wiring that's the size of a single human hair. The most critical part isn't just sewing the tissue on, it's re-establishing the blood flow and the nerve connections to make that new fingertip truly alive and able to feel again.
The whole process really happens in 4 key stages. First, the surgeons have to prep the damaged finger, get it ready, create a clean base. Then, they have to meticulously harvest that perfect piece of donor tissue from the toe. The third, and by far the most delicate, stage is the microsurgery itself, reattaching everything. And finally, and this is a really crucial last step, they have to reconstruct the foot where they took the tissue from.
So after all that incredible effort, does it actually work? Well, the results from the study that sparked this whole explainer are, to put it mildly, astounding. 100%. In this study group of 7 patients, every single one of the transplanted flaps survived. That's a perfect success rate. That is a powerful testament to the skill of these surgeons and just how reliable this procedure can be. And success was way more than just survival. The patients were overwhelmingly happy with how their new fingertips looked. And functionally, the results were fantastic. They use a scale called a DASH score, where 0 means you have 0 disability. The average score for these patients was just 9.75, which is a really good outcome. It shows they got most of their hand function right back. Okay, let's make this real for a second. Meet case study number 1. A 52-year-old man who lost his thumb in a power saw accident. I mean, that is a life-changing injury. But surgeons used tissue from his big toe to completely reconstruct it. The after picture? That's not just the cosmetic fix, that's a working, functional thumb again. Or how about this? A 42-year-old man who lost the tip of his pinky in a conveyor belt. Now, in his case, the surgeons took a look and decided that his 4th toe was the absolute perfect size match. So they transplanted the entire toe to rebuild his finger. It's such a radical idea, but the result is an incredibly natural-looking and functional finger. But, like any major medical advancement, it's not always a simple story.
there's a trade-off. There is a price, so to speak, for achieving this kind of near-perfect reconstruction.
And this is the question that's probably been nagging you this whole time, right? It's great you can rebuild the finger, but what in the world happens to the foot you just took the parts from?
And that right there is the single biggest issue the researchers found. While the new finger healed up beautifully, the donor site on the foot, well, it often struggled. The healing was frequently slow and pretty complicated.
And get this, the method they used to close the wound on the foot made a massive difference. When surgeons used a more advanced technique with a local tissue flap, the foot healed in about 3 weeks. But when they used traditional skin grafts, healing dragged on for nearly 3 months. That is a huge, huge difference in recovery time for the patient.
So the takeaway here is this kind of dual reality. On the one hand, the procedure is a massive win for the hand. It restores form, it restores function, and patients are incredibly happy. But the real challenge for surgeons moving forward is to perfect the other half of the equation, making sure the foot heals just as quickly and just as cleanly.
When you see a toe become a fully functional fingertip, it really makes you wonder, doesn't it? It just goes to show you that with human ingenuity and incredible skill, what seems absolutely impossible today can become the standard routine procedure of tomorrow. It just begs the question, what other parts of our bodies might we one day be able to repair, replace, or completely reconstruct? The future is really being built, one tiny stitch at a time.